Ladies and gentlemen, members of the public of North America, South America and Central America, welcome to your World Championship Series. It is the WCS America round of 16 in Group B. Rotterdam's back with me after a terrific series by Neeb. He really showed us that time what he's made of.
Yeah, it's awesome to see the same Neeb that we saw in WCS America round of 32 that got us all so excited. Like, oh, awesome, now North America has this young Terran player too that we can cheer for. In the first series of the day, he wasn't really able to show what he was made of. A, because Alicia played so well, but B, that's also the type of strat, like either you defend and you win or you die. And if you die twice, then it's kind of like, oh, did I really come for this? But he played very well, he played clean, and he played with confidence, and that's something to be proud of.
What really impressed me, and I tried to kind of get him out of it on the interview, but you know, he's new to those as well. You have to forgive him for
it comes with time.
Absolutely, I'm sure in a couple of years we'll be having having words, and he'll be a bit cockier or something. But right now he's great guy, very mature for a young man. And what really impressed me was in map 2, where he really could have just gone and stomped Huck at almost any moment. But he didn't. He waited, he was patient, he was thoughtful, he was considerate about how he was going to approach. It just seemed really precise for someone of such young years. You just sort of go, how did he hold that? Even at my age, I would have just been like, I'm going in, I'm going to stomp this guy now. And he didn't. He played it out perfectly.
No, very well said. A lot of people get super eager when they're on the verge of winning an important series, because then it already goes through your mind like, I'm about to win this series. A lot of people are going to talk about me winning this series, and you're so caught up in what people think about you and how awesome it is that you're winning this that you actually forget to win it, and before you know it, the game slips away. But no, he played patient, like you said, and he played it with confidence.
And difficult for Huck. He's travelled a long way. I know he hates travelling that long. He had a terrible flight, as we said, lost his luggage as well. It's a miserable way to go out, isn't it?
No, it really is. But Huck has an excellent track record. We all know that he's a fantastic player, and he has even shown us in the last few months that he's better than he's been for a long time. Today, he wasn't able to show it, which could definitely has to do with the traveling. It's like I said, you know, it's not an excuse, like you said as well, and he would never use it as an excuse. But some people are just better in dealing with those kind of circumstances than others. Like, I would also be really messed up, but then you have guys like Stefano who just don't care, and they sit down and they win, you know? So it's different for every player. It's an unfortunate day, obviously, for Huck and all the Huck fans out there, but I'm sure this isn't the last that we've seen of Huck. He's been in Premier League every single season. Making it into the round of 16 this season also means he's in Premier League again next season, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him at the WCS America round of 16 season 2.
Okay, let's check in with the brackets and show you exactly the path to our final game. As you can see in the gold box at the top, Alicia already through to the round of 8 for the second consecutive season. And at the bottom of the bracket, our last 2 players alive in Group B are the Zerg Revival and the Terran Neeb. These two, between them, are the youngest 2 players in the group right now, which is also interesting. And we said Neeb, you know, by a long distance, 16 years of age. Terrific future ahead of him if he carries on at this kind of rate of improvement. Todd mentioned that he played him on the ladder a little while ago, and I think he's been quite candid, and he was pretty awful. But his improvement is remarkable. What we've already seen. What's the scale from what? Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't win this game, I mean, he said in the interview he wasn't that confident of winning this game, but he just wants to get as far as he can. The experience alone is worth its weight in gold. I remember you saying, you know, back in 2005, you went out to China and ACOM 5, I think you said it was, and you know, that experience is gold, isn't it? At the time you come back and you're just like, wow, I know how to do this now.
Oh, it's an unforgettable experience, and it doesn't help you just as a gamer, it helps you as a person. You see more of the world, you interact with people from different nations, and it helps you in so many ways. Above all, what I think is really cool about Neeb is that for people, some people might be thinking like, hey, who is Neeb? Or they thought in the round of 32, who is Neeb? But Neeb is actually a perfect story of WCS, and the type of story that I know that Blizzard really makes them, or excites Blizzard as well, because it's this young American player that made it through the qualifiers in 2013, then made it into Premier League out of making it into Challenger League. And even though he didn't make it out of the Premier League group, he did it again the next season. He showed some excellent games and games to remember. It's really fun, because for me back then, there were 2 Terrans that I kind of had an eye on. Like, hey, these 2 are good. It's a Drunken Boy and Neeb, and they played against each other like 4 times, and I think that Neeb went 8-1 in maps against Drunken Boy. So I was like, okay, well, it's pretty clear, or it might have been 6-1. Sorry, Drunken Boy, but either way, it was impressive how consistent he looked. It's like, all right, well, of those 2, Drunken Boy is still a very promising Terran as well. It was like, okay, Neeb is definitely a player to keep an eye on, and he just keeps on progressing. And I think that's awesome of WCS, that you have these ongoing storylines, you know. And by maybe everything we say right now will look like nothing in season 3 by 2014, because maybe by then he is this established name already that we expect nothing less of than making 16.
Yeah, it's funny. how we ramp up our expectation every season on these players. Let's talk about the matchup now. It's Revival, who is looking very good game 1 against Tuck. Didn't look quite so good after game 2 and 3 against Alicia, but 3 of his 5 maps have looked pretty tasty. The difficult thing for him is that he goes up against a player who has a 69% win rate in TVZ. This is by far and away Neeb's best matchup right now, and he has a genuine shot at winning this game.
It's funny though, because if I think of Neeb, I don't even have that many TVZs that jump into mind immediately, and I do, obviously, if they come to play, I'll cast them and I'll watch them because Neeb is an exciting player for me as well. I don't have that many TVZs that is like, oh yeah, I remember that awesome TVZ he played, but I do know that Neeb is also a pretty clean player. He's not the player that's gonna have trouble like getting enough Rexes to pump out enough Marines in a certain phase in the game. If he stabilizes, if he can get it into a macro game, he's gonna blow people's mind. Like, he has impressive macro. We saw that in his games against Spolt as well. He was not falling behind. If anything, he was creating advantages for himself in a macro game. So he has clean macro, but he's gonna need all that and a little more to go up against Revival, because Revival looked really good early today, and Revival is so experienced. And Revival is just the epitome of a really, really good Zerg.
Okay, so we've mentioned that his TVZ is his best matchup by a long way. Interestingly, Revival's worst matchup by a long way is ZVT.
That surprises me.
Yeah, it does me too, but that's the stats, and you can't argue with the stats, right?
You can't argue with the stats. There is an
Todd
account,
tries to, but
there's an account on Twitter called Numbers Never Lie with a lot of interesting facts on sports, and maybe the same goes for StarCraft.
We'll find out. You watch a tip. Are you gonna stick with the North American hope, or are you? Do you think experience pays dividends here?
Heart says Neeb, but my mind says Revival.
I think that's a fair reflection of how I feel as well. Let us know who you think will win our final game of the night. Keep the tweets coming. Use #WCS on Twitter. And let us know if you're supporting the 16-year-old sensation that is Neeb, and whether he can come through and become the first ever American to reach the round of 8 in WCS America. We're about to find out in our final match of the evening. It's Revival versus Neeb.
Thanks very much, guys. All right, let's get into our final series of the day, determining our 4th place moving through to the round of 8. Not in that particular order, of course, but indeed, Neeb or Revival. This is going to be a good one. Again, we've both been very, very excited about Neeb and how he's playing and stuff like that, but likewise, when it comes to the previous Intel Extreme Masters World Championship, I was very excited to see how Revival played as well, against Terran specifically.
Revival's just good at everything, really.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Statistically, ZVT could be his worst matchup, but he just plays so solid. How can you doubt him, especially against, as well as Neeb has played so far, as well as he played in that match versus Huck. He was still taken out by a player in the very first match, Alicia, that was able to just exploit things that an inexperienced player might not be as prepared for. And if Revival does anything like that, he could give himself a bit of an edge going into this match.
And I'm wondering if Revival, in general, thought he would be in this position. I mean, this is a guy that was 2nd place in WCS Season 1 in America. And now he's in the losers match against a player that he may not have anticipated. He might have been thinking that Hook was there or something waiting for him or someone like that. But Neeb's shown true flying colors here. So I'm interested to know how Revival is actually looking at this. He's vetoed Yonsu and Heavy Rain. But aside from that,
it's actually funny that you mentioned that. I wonder how much ZVT he prepared for. Yeah. Probably not even knowing who Neeb was before this group was planned out. I don't think these vetoes are particularly crazy. I think Revival has vetoed 2 maps that are pretty solid for Reaper openings. For whatever reason that he might want to veto those. Unsurprisingly, Terran player vetoes Alter Zim. So it's still a pretty standard core set of maps. I don't think starting off on Frost is anything weird, but yeah, I think the preparation aspect of it is pretty funny, and we're also going to see the only game you will watch today on Daedalus Point.
Yeah, as a Protoss main myself at the moment, I'm like, oh yeah, that map exists still. I forgot about that, but here we go. So Frost, Daedalus Point, and then Habitation to close it out, right? So good set of maps here as we get into this. And Revival, again, if we just come back to what we saw at World Championship, that's really the standout ZVT for me from this guy as of late. It was so close, so down to the wire against Jaxi, one of, I'm going to say, Europe's finest, in inverted commas, losing that. He could have won that entire series and then moved on, and then who knows what he could have done in that World Championship. But alas, he did not. He lost a lot of Mutalisks and then died.
Yeah, that was the weird one that everyone thought Revival was going to win. I remember I had to catch up on the VOD of that. I was quite shocked myself. And Neeb, statistically speaking, if TVZ was his best matchup, after seeing how solid and well refined his mechanics were in TVP, I feel like the mechanics pay much bigger dividends in this matchup. But also, Neeb, we haven't seen him play Terran versus Zerg in WCS just yet. He played a Terran versus Terran. He played a little bit of TVP in his round of 32 group. What exactly has he been preparing for? Because, I mean, I kind of mentioned this before. I haven't seen him stream in a while. Will we see Bio? Will we see maybe a little bit of mech, perhaps on Daedalus and Revival? Well, what is he planned for? What do you anticipate from someone like this that you haven't played as much? You expect the cheese, maybe?
His hair looks like a helmet. It's really interestingly styled. I wish he didn't put his headphones on when I said that, because now people can't look at it properly, but it was quite impressive. But anyway, coming back to this, I mean, you're right. Like, I'm curious to see what we're going to see from Revival, and I'm curious to see how he's going to match up against a player like Neeb here, because you were explaining Neeb to me before. Unfortunately for myself, I can happily admit that I haven't seen much of Neeb's TVZ. So you're going to be my guide, my ultimate guide through this. But you were saying pretty standard from the game.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at his TVP, he pulled one kind of build out of left field on Frost, the gas first build, probably mostly because it's a 4-player map. It's a little bit more difficult to scout. But mechanically, he has been incredibly solid. In Terran versus Zerg, if you want to play the most mechanical style, just straight up bio mine, just straight mass marines, medevacs, and mines. If you don't want to play any of those weirder styles where you mix in a couple of Thors, if you want to just try to kill your opponent with the mid-game push, that parade push, mechanics are the #1 way to make that happen. And on this map, if you get put on cross spawns, that can be a little bit more difficult to do if the Zerg player spreads creep properly. So I feel like it's going to be interesting. And this first map, however way it pans out, is largely depend on, I feel, the spawns.
I mean, I love that we're spawning on going to Frost as the first map. It's really going to test the mettle of both of these players and really kind of grind out and see what they're preparing in general. The overarching structure of this final series to determine who moves on to the round of 8. A great standard map to open it up on. Let's get right on into it. Revival versus Neeb, as we have spawning up to the top left-hand corner, Red Zerg representing CM Storm. It's Revival.
The Korean player that stands in the way of our last American in the WCS America round of 16. He is the blue Terran in the southwest position, playing for Fnatic. It is Neeb.
And when you think of last remaining American, Neeb doesn't exactly spring to mind, yet here he is. I think when you look at especially the way this round, even the round of 32 started, some of the players, you'd think, okay, maybe the last remaining American would be Huck or Scarlet, but here it is. Even one of them being taken out by Neeb. This is his opportunity. If you were ever going to prove to anybody that you were really worth taking into consideration and looking at, this is it. This is arguably, I mean, we've already talked about this is for Neeb's first big tournament. He's playing at 2 in the morning for his biggest tournament, his biggest game he's ever going to play. This got to be a lot of pressure on him, but we can already see he's actually going to open up command center first. He'll be scouted very quickly by the Overlord that Revival has sent out at the start. Yeah, lucky with that to actually send that down to the bottom left to spot his opponent very quickly. But you're right. Playing at 2 a.m. in the morning as your first tournament, of all things, it's very rare that tournaments actually go on to this time. I'm under the impression that he was able to deal with his sleep schedule very well, and now he's here performing, so doing good, but that's only a hunch. That's not from actual information being given to me. So far, he's doing good, but can he continue it on?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, especially considering that, wow, that SCV, he moved the SCV up to the top of that natural pocket. He saw the Overlord. So Neeb, without actually scouting, has scouted the main, he knows where the main base of Revival is. And that's actually a very cute thing to do because that Overlord skirted around. So the SCV building the command center would not have spotted this. And this is kind of nice for Neeb because Revival has opened up with gas, and Neeb's SCV should 100% be able to get in there. Just imagine if he goes to the bottom right and just scouts him last, the Queen comes in, blocks, and maybe 2 links, he doesn't know, and then dies to his speedling timing. There's so many things that can go wrong. Yeah. So already not really a big deal, but it's nice for Neeb to be able to know that this, you know, at the very least he spawned here and he took gas.
And of course, likewise though, Revival having that Overlord been spotted can move that Overlord down to this bottom right-hand corner without having to leave it being hidden up to the top left. So at least he prepares it down to the bottom right-hand corner, which would normally be a bit more difficult, to then try and get a scout in the main if he somehow finds a way in. But that's minor, it's by the by. As Neeb now just heads on back home and even has a bunker on the way, so he's keeping himself well defended early on.
Yeah, I like this. You know, this is a map where it's not really that difficult to wall off your natural expansion. Just, you know, your first couple of supply depots that you build can go wall it off. I think it's kind of interesting that he didn't place his barracks or his factory at the main base ramp to the natural, so if there was some links to squeeze through somehow that natural wall, it'd be, you know, a very fast pass into the main base as... that speed is about halfway done. Marine cannot, his bullets can't reach far enough.
He's on a fantastic little patrol around there to make sure it doesn't get back in anytime soon, which is all good. Keeping himself truly situated down here. Whilst we have actually speed finishing up pretty quickly, so he Revival has a lot of map presence and map control for now. There's really not a whole lot Neeb's going to be able to do up until the point where he gets those Hellions out running about. But he sees the third command center instantly, so that's good intel there for Revival.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's sometimes as a Terran player, I've seen quite a few Koreans like Innovation. They'll just throw down 3 fast supply depots to finish the wall off. Neeb has set up his wall in a perfect way that his command center blocks it, so he gives up being scouted in exchange for not having to delay the command center, not having to delay really much of anything, since he doesn't have to invest in, you know, getting a couple of supply depots to wall off. And the first couple of Hellions are going to come out. He started a starport and a second gas, so it looks like he's going to go into Cloak Banshees out of this.
Roach Warren got added on here for Revival very quickly to deal with the Hellions, but it could still follow up into a bit of an assault for him if he wanted to. He does have only the 2 gas, so 3 gas would probably be the ideal kind of number for that, as that second one just finished up.
He's got 200 bank, though. I think he could do anything crazy with this. He doesn't have a lair on the way. He can actually put out quite a few roaches, I feel.
Yeah, with these 2 extra Overlords on the way. Could do. At least push this away. I mean, that's a guarantee, right?
Yeah, the Hellions shouldn't do any damage.
Yeah, and he's only on 3 queens, so he's not exactly aggressively pushing out this creep. There's a little bit of creep spread going on, of course, but 3 as opposed to the 4 where you would really push out. And Baneling Nest goes down as well. He's actually going to do this. Wow. He is actually going to do this.
You know, this is a situation where what Neeb really needs to do is just, I mean, aside from recognizing this, he can't really afford to lose these Hellions. And as a Terran player, you want to poke the queens as much as possible. It's not bad to poke the queens, but they're not going to be a part of this attack. He needs to see these roaches, and they're the few lanes. He does spot a few of the roaches. This third base, though, is one of those, it's kind of funny trying to sell it. And he scans, he sees the roach horn, and he sees, well, I guess he saw the roaches, but he sees the Baneling Nest. And I think if he doesn't necessarily need to scan the main base, but you can kind of interpret that there's no lair. And if you have this setup with no lair, it can only be one thing, which is this roach attack. And he has just this one Banshee about to complete. He immediately has a second one queued up. And I don't know if he can stop this. I feel like this is a situation where you almost want to raise your depot. You try to use the wall and just evacuate your SCVs out of the natural into the main base, because he is not going to be able to out-repair these Banelings killing his wall.
Now, this was really triggered by him seeing that third command center as quickly as he did. He saw it instantly, so he knew the committal to the economy. He actually leaves that supply depot down, of all things, as those the roaches just completely walk in. He kills off a lot here at the natural. Oh dear.
And you know what? Those SCVs, he's still trying to keep them alive, but he couldn't run into his... He actually kept a lot of these SCVs alive so far. He should be able to kill the rest of these, but the problem is he also couldn't just run them into his main base because he doesn't have the wall there either. And, you know, for all he lost, how many workers did he kill? He killed about 15, and there's not too many... I think with 3 mules, he's only down about 10 workers, and there's more roaches and zerglings in production. I think that actually could have been a lot worse. I feel like Revival almost had to kill all the workers that were in this natural expansion.
You know how you watched like a lot of Neeb's stream? How many times did he go mech? Because,
you know, that's one of the things I wanted to bring up, that I haven't seen him do a lot of that.
Okay.
He hasn't streamed it quite a bit, and this could be one. You know, this is obviously a reason why you don't want people to see what you're doing. Mech came a lot more into popularity a little bit more recently, and this is a fantastic segue into Mech because he already has all these Banshees out on the map. The lair tech is so late, there's no way he has to worry about getting hit by Mutalisks without seeing it coming to some extent. Of course, losing the Banshee would suck a little bit, but oh well, it happens.
It does, and the third base has been claimed down here, and I think he's just going to be able to hold on to it. He sees the timing of the lair as well, so he knows the exact position he is in this game right now. He knows he doesn't have to have any threats really hit him from that layer tech for quite a while, and he's establishing his production. It's looking all right for him. I mean, he's stabilized very nicely.
Yeah. The simple fact of the matter is that Revival delayed his everything by a lot with that Roach Baneling attack.
His everything is a good phrase for it.
Yeah, and I honestly don't think 14 SCVs when you have your third command center that fast puts you in a position where you can safely say that you're ahead, because the third base is already landed. He's taking his gas. He's moving up to 5 factories, and because he thinks he still has like 2 Banshees roaming the map, he still has just enough map presence to kind of be able to deal with small harassment, because if there was any big harassment that came, he wouldn't be able to get all these upgrades together. And it's a nice setup from Revival. He's getting his 1-1 in his Spire, but I think this game is actually this is pretty close despite all the early hiccups.
Yeah, you're right. I think Revival goes into that earlier game aggression with the fact that he wants to ravage the natural, right? Not just kind of prod it and poke it with a Feather Duster. He got a few kills, of course, and he has now seen the fact that he is playing against mechs, so producing a lot of roaches at this point to try and deal with it. But these Hellions are doing great work. They've already killed off 17 workers and really evened up that worker count considerably.
Yeah, and the one thing I really, really like about the way that Neeb is playing this, he sees the roaches, and you know, this is something I try to do myself, and I sometimes lose a lot because of it. But you see a ton of roaches, and you say, make Thors. And someone might say, why would you do that? Thors are trash against roaches. But the number one thing that a Zerg player can do, or a number one sneaky play, and we've seen a lot of sneaky plays from Revival, is say, hey, I've got a bunch of roaches. Why don't you go build 6 siege tanks, and then I roll up to your base with maybe a few Mutalisks. And he actually doesn't have any gas, even though the Spire is finishing. So I guess he can't do anything. He couldn't do anything Muta-based if he wanted to anyway. But, wow, this is a cute little Baneling run by going into the third base. He spots it in time. He's paying attention.
Wow, that's really good. Oh, but doesn't want to get caught. Ow, 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 ow.
The
Look out.
splits.
Okay, that didn't do as much as I was expecting. No, run away. Okay.
Okay, so he lost a reasonable amount, but you know, he's going mech, so you float minerals anyway. I feel like as long as you have enough to keep mining a little bit of the gas there as well, and he's got blue flames, so you can come poke some drones back as well, maybe force some of those units to return home, and he's going to get some in kind. And the thing is, with mech, it's all about the gas-heavy units. Rarely do you see mech players floating gas. So I don't think this hurts him as much. I think what really hurts is that he invested so much gas into this harass, he can only get 5 Mutalisks, and there are already 3 Thors on the map. So the Mutalisks are basically null and void as long as he builds 1 or 2 missile turrets at each base. He doesn't actually have an engineering bay, though? Yeah, so that could be awkward.
It was a little bit of a shame for him having to pull away from that third base, because then his 2-2 was delayed a little bit. He didn't have as much gas coming in. But this is a strong army.
Yeah, this is a very scary army. Those Thors with this many Hellbats to tank, the Roaches can't really run straight up to them. He's playing 7 factories as well. So this is almost, it almost feels all-inish, but it's like, he's going to hit right before there are Swarm Hosts, and they're the only things that are good versus this army. He only has 1 siege tank. Like, Swarm Hosts are great versus Thor-based armies, but with the Banshees, if he can keep this Banshee alive, doesn't look like... Oh, he kills the Overseer. Yeah, when he keeps the Banshee alive, he's got 1 siege tank. These Thors will destroy those Mutas, and this is not enough Roaches to stop this force. I don't think. He's got a very powerful force here. He's moving in. He doesn't have his 2-2 just yet. He has to retreat to this tank. It looks like the next wave of production will be enough to hold this off, but he's still going to kill a lot, and now he knows that there's Swarm House coming. The Banshee is able to see it. Maybe another tank or 2 helps him make that push a little bit easier, but I still feel like it's nice, and this Banshee can go to the right side base where there isn't too much to defend. Yeah,
he overextended with those Hellbats. In the end, those were attacking when the Thors weren't at the back. Yeah. So losing the portion of his army before it was all there ready for the fight was a big deal there, as Revival now pushes down towards the third base, looking to put on the counter pressure, as he knows he's had some time given to him because of the way in which Neeb engaged that. So now, this is Neeb's eventually going to clean this up. That's great, but whilst he's doing this, he's producing a lot at home and really buying himself a lot of time against this mech play.
You know what? I think it was, and you were spot on. The Hellbats were way in front of the Thors. The Hellbats got caught in the Mutalisks. There were only a few Mutas, but the Thors got stuck so far behind attacking those Mutas that the Hellbats ran up and died to the Roaches. So We actually have transformation servos on the way, which I really love this. I feel like Mutalisk Swarmhost makes it difficult to harass because the Mutas can catch the Hellions if you have map awareness. But this is still pretty tough, and I'm surprised that Neeb is pushing out again so soon. Muta count's not crazy high, he has more tanks, but Swarmhosts are still going to slow you down for a long time, and these Zerglings definitely not going to make things any easier in that third base.
Yeah, they're doing quite a lot of damage. The reason I love seeing transformation servos is because we never ever get to see that habitually being researched as of late, and it's nice to actually see it in the production tab because it's got a cool little graphic. But catching a few tanks for free here in the middle is very, very good as well. This is a great pickup for Revival, really cost effective.
Yeah, even last land, the Vikings wants to trade as efficiently as possible. You know, as a Terran player, there's nothing more important when you're going mech than having that third base up and running as fast as you can. And the fact that he's had to continuously lift it up, lose lots of SCVs there, now we're hitting that point where it's like, okay, you've lost enough workers that it's a bit difficult to, you know, to say that you can just throw workers away at this point. Almost 60 SCVs have died this game, and taking out a few of these Locusts outside his base. Mutalisk Swarmhost versus mech, it's just the Swarmhosts hold you in place and the Mutas attack where your army isn't.
Yeah,
and he's just going to come right on top of this. There's just one Thor here, actually gets AI bugged onto that Overseer, so the Mutas do a little bit of damage. The Vikings do add actually a surprising amount back, and Neeb is actually pushing this back. I'm a little bit surprised. He's even brought SCVs to help prepare this tank for us.
As long as he can get extra roaches out, he should be able to continue to hold on. But you're right, I mean, with the Swarmhosts having to abandon their post in the middle of the map, that's a little bit scary. But Swarmhost Mutalisk is something that we saw Revival play great against Jakshi. Now mixing in these roaches from either side, but the siege tank sieged up pretty quickly to be able to kill off the majority of that ground force, and a second and third Thor are now here to join the fight.
Yeah, I really like the SCVs here to repair. This is doing a surprisingly good job. I was going to say, I almost kind of worried about this this style that he's been doing because he has to push so far onto the creep. He has to push so far into his base to attack him that it makes it very easy for Revival to get the surrounds and swarm this Terran force. And there you have it. This mech ball has been destroyed, and I think, you know, you make one mech push, it doesn't work. Okay, go for a second one. But with that third base being picked off so much, Revival has no difficulty taking game number 1 here. And Neeb seemed like he had a good game plan, but I think he was a little overeager. He hit the timing before Swarmhosts, but there were still enough roaches to kill him with only one siege tank.
Yeah, and again, I mean, that engagement with the almost exclusively Hellbat Thor could have gone a whole lot different if he'd have pushed off just a little bit more patiently, I feel, as they would have all been together as one unit. And Revival certainly took opportunity and broke that down bit by bit. So that was nice. That was nice for him.
You know, I think when you play mech on those spawns versus Zerg, the third base is so hard to hit. Maybe if you go even to the natural and just park the tank under the cliff and siege it where the roaches can't get a full concave, you force them to move into that little choke point. And I think that's maybe where the Hellbats become a bit more effective. I don't know. Maybe the Mutas could snipe it, then it's all hindsight at this point. But looking at, I think our next map is Daedalus Point. I actually think that's a pretty solid map for mech as well, with how easy it is to hold your third base from the natural. So we'll have to see. He could probably still go either way. I still kind of expected to see bio from Neeb.
I think also, you know, with those spawning positions, if you're going to play that mech style, you can play it really patiently, and you can start pushing away the creep, but it takes so long when you've got someone like Revival who has pushed it over to your side of the map, and mech moves slowly, man. So
and the way that Revival expanded, you know, every time you expand as a Zerg on that map, you're expanding away from the Terran. He had that fourth base in the top right. You can't push to that with mech, or he'll just counterattack base trade you, and then by the time you get home, you're dead.
Maybe more use of transformation servos to have maybe a few Hellions over at that but it again.
I feel like the transformation servo at that point was just a little bit too late.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Transformation servos is really nice when you get into that 4-base stage where the swarm hosts are all pressing you, and so much of the supply is in swarm hosts that you can run around easily, but even then Mutalisks can deal pretty well with them, I found. But Neeb still played he still played pretty solidly. It was just a couple of decision-making issues. And Revival, I think he played about as solid as you can hope. He opened roaches, went into the Mutalisk swing, which I kind of said would happen, and then, well, I mean, losing the Thors to the roaches obviously made that a bit difficult because of how overeager he was. But Revival seems also totally fine with playing with swarm hosts, and we'd already seen him do that a little bit in his ZVP. I feel like versus Terran, you make a little bit more than just 10 though if you're dealing with mech.
One thing's for sure, Revival looks a little bit tired during all of this. Just waiting to get into the second game. It is quite late here in Cologne, but these are things we do as we can hopefully broadcast as best as possible for our American audience, as it is WCS America. But it's a little bit difficult. I heard that the time is still not the most amazing over in America, but we do what we can. What time is it there?
I mean, you know, daylight savings time actually messed up my perception of the time difference, because I normally recognize it being from East Coast to be 6 hours.
Right.
But then daylight saving times happened in America, and nothing like that happened in Europe.
Oh, it happened before, I think.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So it was all just weird.
I was kicked.
It's about 5 or 6 hours difference, at least to the East Coast. Add 3 more if you're going to California.
Yeah, true. Wait, which side do you live on? The California side?
The East Coast right now.
Okay, but then... Oh, okay. I see. Okay. I don't know a whole lot about America. I've been like a few times, and it's only ever been to like Florida, to Disneyland, and then Busch Gardens. That place is really cool. I like that place. It's got some nice roller coasters. And then New York, obviously.
Yeah. Well, New York is easily probably the most important place to visit in America, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I enjoyed our last time there. It was really, really nice. All right. Back to StarCraft. Back to reality. Or the lack of it, depending on how you look at it.
This is WCS America. We're in the lobby for the second game. Well, I guess it's starting now, so we can talk a little bit more StarCraft. Daedalus Point.
Hey.
They made... whenever I think about this map, it's been so long since you actually see people play on it that you have to actually remind yourself that they made the choke point for the natural ramp a little bit smaller, so it's not as difficult to wall off. I never saw it as much of a problem in this matchup. But
don't worry, it'll be gone soon. No more tears.
That's true. That's true. Then the next season map pool looks pretty fun for Terran. But we are loaded in to Daedalus Point. As you can see, we have the Korean playing the American. If this Korean Zerg player wins this game, he's off to the round of 8. And well, here he is in the southeast position in red, playing for Cooler Master Storm. It is Revival, chewing that mech apart without much difficulty.
Good noms there for Revival. And up to the top left-hand corner, showing us that mech playing game number 1, representing Fnatic, it's Neeb. Dun, dun. I do like these little tunes.
Yeah, I think on this map, you most certainly do not go command center first. I mean, you can try to be brave, do it on the high ground, I guess, but I expect Neeb to open up Reaper. I'd be surprised if Revival did anything other than a hatchery first. I don't think the map is so good for early speedling-based aggression that you can just go ham on it. But any preference for builds on this map? You have a little robot here. He's cute.
He is quite cute. I think somebody mentioned that they added a new type of critter because he's a levitating critter as opposed to other ones that don't levitate. Yeah, there you go. And there's a lot of Zerg on this map. We have our Infestor, we have our Hydralisk. What else do we have? Funker. We have a lot. There's like Dead Overlords. Are those Zerglings? Those are Zerglings. Somebody just there's an Overlord and there's a Hydra. That's a big Hydralisk.
There's even some Marines there. Like Daedalus. This was the research facility. And they found out that there were like so many Zergs, they just nuked it and they let the Marines die there too. And then everyone started vetoing the map because of all the Zergs. But you can still see the remnants of all the battles.
There's our little Lurker. Sorry, Lurker.
And he was never let out to play.
No, he wasn't. Maybe one day.
Well, we have the Reaper on the way. Gas being taken after the spawning pool, it looks like, for Revival. Or that it was at the same exact time, something like that. Yeah, a little bit after, actually. So we have... Yeah, he's still going to be able to get a fast speed if he wants. I don't know if we see anything similar to that Roach Baneling play. I still don't think that it was really tantamount to his victory. It was certainly nice to slow down the economy of Neeb, but there are other ways to get advantages, I feel, economically versus Terran anyway.
I think Roach Baneling play on this map's like quite scary because still they're like ramps big. Like
honestly, I feel like more than trying to kill the Terran, it's if you can just kill their wall, you'll supply block them into oblivion.
Yeah, it's true. Neeb in game number 1, obviously with that command center in the wall, it kind of helped him because he didn't get supply blocked into Super Oblivion. And he even had the supply depot down, so he's like, oh, you actually don't have to kill this, just don't supply block me, just kill some of my SCVs instead, that's fine. Just do that. And then he didn't lose too many anyway, so.
It's time to find out how good Neeb's Reaper micro is. I'd say these days, if you can get even one drone with how used to and how custom Zergs are to this type of style, it's a big win. But I don't think, I hold true to this statement in every Terran player I've ever talked to, pro gamer otherwise, says losing one of your first 2 or 3 Reapers at the beginning of the game is easily one of the worst mistakes you can make in StarCraft. So it's very important to keep that alive, as it's the #1 thing I feel that keeps the Zerg player cautious in the early game.
Yeah, you're entirely right. Me and Sean have debates all the time about like, oh, he didn't get a drone. Well, it doesn't matter now. It's about killing Zerglings, man. You're not going to be able to get those drones against the best Zergs. And Revival certainly keeps his alive. Just pumping out those Zerglings to keep everything going. But the Reaper doesn't want to overstay its welcome. Speed's close to finishing, so.
Yeah, he's still putting out a few drones. Well, that Reaper's getting quite low. He left the second one at home in the event that there was some sort of run-by of sorts, and there are 2 Lings on the left side of the watchtower. Somehow they just, they just know that there's a Reaper there, most likely, that they won't be able to do any damage. But Speed is done. And there's not too many Lings, but there's just enough to poke around and catch a Reaper if he was to be so bold as staying on the map.
Yeah, if you don't have that second Reaper, though, I mean, we've seen people like TLO and WCS Europe, for example, finding room with those 2 little Lings, and then they can delay a command center. I mean, that's a big deal for just 2 Lings sneaking around. So good precautions here so far by Neeb. He's even sending Hellions down this left-hand side, assuming that there may be something down here. But those Lings did evacuate out a little bit ago.
You know what? You mentioned this is not a bad map for Roach-based attacks. We don't have a Baneling Nest yet, but I feel like with the amount of gas starting to be banked up, it's looking closer to that last game, except I think without the starport, Neeb is looking to play bio this game. And, you can still open Banshee when you're going bio, but I think given these specific circumstances, it could be a very difficult hold for Neeb. He'll see this 3rd hatchery, but I mean, he had a 3rd hatchery this early in the last game.
Yeah.
The question is, will those Reapers run in? Will he see the Roaches coming? Because there's no Banshee to save you now.
It's so difficult to commit with the Reapers when you know that Speed is done. He's going to try... Oh, no, he's not. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Man, you know what? I really like this. If he can get it in and see the Roach Warren, that is... Can. I mean, look, the Baneling Nest is on the way in the natural, so he won't see that. But he sees Roaches coming out this early. These aren't defensive Roaches. He didn't, it's not like that Overlord saw, 2 factories. He saw a 3rd command center. He knows what he's doing with those Roaches. And there's a bunker immediately built. He's finished his wall, Neeb. 18 Zerglings on the way. I think he's got to add at least maybe 2 more bunkers. I don't even think he has enough bio to fill those bunkers at this point.
Yeah, it's still a scary push, despite him knowing that it's on. Oh, wait, no, you do.
I mean, if he can clean up any Lings with these Hellions, that'd be really nice.
It would.
But a smart Zerg is going to keep them right by those Roaches.
Yeah, they're going to defend them pretty nicely. But the Hellions are not doing too bad of work on the initial Roaches there. You don't leave those Hellions too weak, though. They need to be used for the defense. Baneling Nest is about to finish up. Here come the Banelings, as he's going to try and crash through again. And as I said before, it's a good map for it. And you said, supply blocked into Oblivion. There are 4. I mean, he's probably going to be able to target down 2 of these, at least, supply depots that are going to leave it as this army and this army only for the defense for a while for Neeb.
I think Neeb has decided if he survives this, he's probably going to need these upgrades to win the game because he's going double engineering bay behind this. He must be feeling confident in some manner. The Banelings, he still has 2 bunkers alive. And he's actually just going to try to run straight into the natural and kill off the actual units here. There's still a lot of Zerglings for these Hellions to deal with. The SCVs are still alive, though. He's targeted down all of the Banelings. There's just 1. And he's actually still got control of both of these bunkers in his natural. This is a phenomenal hold by Neeb.
This is fascinating how he's doing it, because similar to game #1, he let everything in anyway. He was like, all right, just come on in. And then controlled behind that to be able to hold on. What is going on?
He's the kind of guy that opens the door to the annoying, salesman at the door of the Jehovah's Witness. He's like, no, come on in. I totally know how to deal with this. He just lets the Roach Baneling into his base. He stretches it around, and he's like, I don't care if you want to blow up my wall. I'd rather keep my depots alive. And what an interesting second time that he's just had Roaches and Banelings in his natural expansion and not been completely dead.
That was impressive. That was very impressive. And now he goes into this, but look at that, 15 drones in production.
And those engineering bays, those E-bays that he started, as he's getting almost, economically all in, he has the E-base, so he's ahead in upgrades now. He's over a minute deep into them. 3rd command center is planted. And I feel really good for Neeb right now because Revival's just finished up that lair. There's no Spire on the way. There won't be Mutalisks. He's actually getting pneumaticized Carapace. Does he actually didn't confirm whether there was ever even a tech lab on that barracks. I assume he has to think with how many Marines were here that he, maybe the Marauder that he has it. But what if he was doing something crazy like going into mech again? Centrifugal Hooks is on the way, so he's setting himself up to play versus Bio at the very least, but without any Spire, Neeb can feel really comfortable just putting everything at the front.
Oh, one thing's very true is that Revival, despite him not really doing the damage that he wanted to, is still a really good Lingbane Muta player. Apart from losing those Mutalisks on this specific map against Janshi in the World Championship. But other than, thank you very much, Funker. But other than that, he's still a very, very good player when it comes to this composition. So you do have to be careful as Neeb. The one thing that's great about this map for Revival is that creep is so easy to spread across the map.
Yeah.
It's all one plane level. And that's what he's doing in spades right now, and doesn't want to get surrounded.
Yeah, well, Neeb will lose these Hellions, but love doesn't last forever. He does see the 4th base, though. So that's something. Gets a little something for his money. Yeah, you said it. This creep is going nice. But look, Neeb already got that 2-2 started straight up. Yeah. One thing Neeb does not do is miss any beats with his production so far. And looking at Revival, he's still been getting very good injects off. This game is still, I feel, going to be even, despite any early trades that have been made. But Neeb has an opportunity here, since Inspire is just about to finish, to try to do some pushing. He still has that very tiny window where Terran players can scan, clear creep, and if they get overwhelmed, they can just load up into their medevacs and retreat.
Yeah, it is certainly time to start that cleanup. But unfortunately for him, as he cleans up one avenue, it could technically get pushed down the other. But
he goes right there.
Yeah, have to clean that up one as well. Very important to make sure he cleans everything through this middle of the map. And now the Mutalisks are on the way. So the composition for Revival is slowly getting to that point where it is complete. He has to be careful about that.
Yeah, you know what he hasn't done, though, is started that 2-2 just yet. And Neeb is going to maintain this lead of it's like a marginal upgrade lead because they're both technically 1-1 right now. But this becomes a big deal when the 3-3 turns around, because can Revival go straight for a Hive to get his 3-3? I don't think so. Most Zerg players die trying to do builds like that. And with, this supply lead, this very tiny one, Neeb's been macroing very well. It'd be very scary to try to play any level of greed against them. Just now the 2-2 begins.
Yeah, I've actually seen that happen a few times where they morph in the Hive and they're like, right, time to get through. Oh, but yeah, because they only start that 2-2. So it does at least get it.
You invest 1,000 gas into the rest of your upgrades for Zerglings, Mutalisks, and then Speedlings, and all of a sudden you need all the Banelings to hold off a bio push. It's quite scary. This creep has been held to the halfway point, by the way. He's had medevac drops just to kill the creep. Neeb is he's definitely playing the map, and he's playing towards the late game. You see him doing what many Terrans that are playing bio lately are wont to do, which is adding in the Thors. He's going to be able to have these not only tank against Banelings, but they act very well versus Mutalisks. Especially if they try to clump up to snipe things like Widow Mines. So Neeb he's maxed out, and well, he's playing pretty damn well. He's ready to push.
Yeah,
and
macro's on point, man.
Yeah, this is going to be really scary because he doesn't have to go too far on creep to get close to his opponent's base. But Revival still wants to take these fights. The Widow Mines are going to bro. A couple of these Marines are still very clumped up, but most of these Banelings engaging off the creep. Neeb cleans this up with no trouble at all. Nets himself a 40 supply lead. There are only 14 Banelings remaining on the map. They are coming up from that natural area towards the 4th base.
And you got to remember, 2-2 finished up before all of that happened as well, so it was the perfect timing for Neeb as he now pushes his way forwards into his opponent's 4th base. If this falls, if this goes down, then Neeb is looking at a great position. There's not that many Banelings at all. Splitting up this bio where he can do. The Banelings very indecisive. They do catch a bit of that bio on the left-hand side, but a lot of those Banelings now refusing to commit to this engagement for just a bit as Neeb tries to micro back.
And I feel like he wants to move some of these more of these Widow Mines up front. He has the Thor here. He's taking some pot shots at these Banelings, but Revival will clean this up. But a couple of these medevacs might escape. He gets into the natural at the same exact time with the drop. He's going to kill the Baneling nest. There are no Banelings on the map. He has nothing to deal with the Marines. At this point, Neeb, with this barely any supply lead, he just rallies out maybe 2-3 waves of Marines, and he could practically just A-move when there's no Banelings on the map as a Terran. With an upgrade advantage, 2-2 is going to complete soon, but Neeb has his +3 armor on the way. I mean, maybe he doesn't have his +3 attack on the way, but when you're in this heat of the moment, he might not even need it anymore.
I'll be honest, I just got chills because that normally doesn't happen. That very rarely happens, and that is terrifying here for a Zerg. It's like, oh, I don't have Banelings to deal with this push? Well, I guess I'm just going to have to say goodbye to my 4th base. This is absolute horror here for Revival. He somehow has to hold on against this with Ling Muta alone. There's no way. There's no way. He needs that Baneling shot unless right now he needs Banelings. The 4th base is already gone. It's gone.
Yeah, and he's trying to clean up the reinforcements. Some of these Widow Mines are pro. He's still cleaning up Zerglings chunk by chunk. As the reinforcement line gets bigger and bigger, now he's got basically 2 armies to deal with. He can never reclaim that 4th. He's got the Field of Dreams of Widow Mines over there if he ever tried to chase into it. And, well, he's just now starting Burrow. I guess maybe you throw a Hail Mary onto the Baneling Mines.
Oh, that could have done even more, but 3 kills in the end. And then tries to send a drone back for an expansion, but...
Yeah, but what are these drones even doing now to save them? There's not like there's going to gain any mining efficiency going back to the other bases. And Neeb, I feel, he's, we've kind of mentioned this, he plays very patiently, and now he has completed his core army once again. He has a good medevac count, he has the Thor here, more Widow Mines, he's got like, what? He must have had something like 20+ odd Widow Mines for that last fight.
And importantly, whilst he's pushing back onto this 4th base to keep his opponent pinned down, he's cleaned up his 4th base as well. So he can transition over to that, but a lot of these Banelings now trying to crash through against this bio play, but they don't even get to the core of that bio at all. And this is looking really, really hard for Revival. Neeb is playing a fantastic TVZ here. And Revival has no answer to it. This is going to try and be the answer, but the Banelings don't do enough to fully push on through. It's going to be up to the Mutalisk to clean up. He really needs to get that Thor away.
He has had good Mutalisk control. The second Thor rolls on up, though, and he's going to be able to pick off maybe 1 or 2 more of these Mutas. Neeb is, this is starting to look like one of those weird situations where it's like, okay, Neeb, you've overextended maybe a little bit. I think Neeb right now is just going to realize, okay, you know what, I probably should plant this 4th command center down that I have, and if I can secure that, I'm totally fine. There is an Overlord that has not begun the process of defiling the base with creep, so he should be able to take this because I don't think that Revival, despite holding, is any position to counterattack.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would have... Ouch, ouch, ouch. Bye-bye. Sorry about that. Like, that 4th base could have been taken whilst all that pressure was going on, and then he would have had the economy to fuel this a little bit more. But aside from that, it's still been a very good get. Look, I mean, look at this. They're dead even. 147 supply, 153 supply. Revival is technically supply blocked, and that's really annoying because he doesn't have any more Overlords in production right now. But it's because he's kind of, you know, restricted. Well, this is difficult.
Yeah, the main base is mined out. The Natural's running pretty dry, and, you know, 3rd base has come so early these days that even that isn't going to last too much longer. So he's taken the 4th and his 5th at the same time. He knows that Neeb's 4th base has been planted on the left side, but there's nothing he can really do about that. And that is quite annoying. He still doesn't really have any level of creep spread either. He just planted down 7 tumors from his queen that he wasn't able to use earlier, and Neeb's +3 attack is late, but it is coming, and that armor upgrade is almost as useful anyway defending against Zergling melee attack since there's not even a hive for Revival.
But now how does Revival compete against soon-to-be maxed out Neeb when he continues on this macro? It's going to be difficult. He's dropping up to the top right, and he's pushing through the middle.
He just needs Miracle Baneling hits, and he's just saying, screw it. He's running a ton of Mutalisks to the left side, and he is just praying that there's no anti-air at this 4th. I mean, you know, PSA, there is no anti-air at the 4th base, so he should be able to pick it off without too much trouble, and Neeb is going to regret that. Thankfully, he has another command center on the way by his 3rd base. I don't think his bio gets back in time to defend it. Well, actually, if he chases the SCVs, yeah, I guess the command center will live. He doesn't have building armor, so...
He could have turned around and, I think, killed that, but...
I mean, his Mutas do have +2 attack, so they got a little power behind their punch. Instead, he wants to lead these Marines on a wild goose chase.
Catching add-ons is a very, very nice pickup, denying a little bit of that Marine building time for now.
I mean, if he was able to deny this 4th base, then you clean up those add-ons. It's like, well, he doesn't even need them because he doesn't have enough income with how awkward this game's become. And the Marines actually in the main base poke away at these Mutas. He's got Marines on both sides. He's saying, hey, Revival, you can check in, but have fun ever trying to leave. He's still got drops on Revival's side of the map, and these Mutas are stuck. He's got Thors on one side, he's got Marines on another, and then Marines on the other side with Burrowed Widow Mines. Have fun.
You can't leave. You can't leave. Is a phrase that comes to mind right now. It's gonna be hard there for Revival. He's got himself caught. But whilst all this is going on, the drops aren't doing the huge amount that they would like.
That's 58 of his supply. That's 58. He has 24 Mutalisks tucked behind there.
How is he gonna get out of here? He's going to take losses, that's for sure.
He's got to try to find the path of least resistance.
It's
Neeb is everything position. He's like, I know that you cannot do anything against my little drops. Neeb still has a couple drops flying around. He's like, yeah, these flies, you can't swat at them. Your fly swatter is stuck in a blender if you try to leave.
Jeez.
He's going to try to get a hive together. I guess what else can you really do?
Oh, Revival. This is like the cutest, like, image I see. All these scared Mutalisks in a corner that can't do anything.
I'd almost want to see him just try to throw a bunch of missile turrets now that he's maxed and push across the map, because there's just 38 banelings is really all he has to worry about. A couple more Mutalisks that he produced outside will be able to help clean up these drops. He definitely needed those.
The other ones are in detention, man. They're not allowed to play outside. These ones are okay. Oh, dear me.
The only thing is, I feel like at some point, Neeb will probably realize, and Revival has probably already accepted, that the supply of mutas that's being held here is being held by way more than the equivalent amount of supply of bio. And Neeb recognized that. He's like, okay, actually, I'd like to take this 5th base instead of sitting here camping on mutas all day. So he'll run out. I'm still surprised he hasn't built any missile turrets at his 4th base. Because he's going to try to save his 5th base, but these mutas could still try to hit that 4th. Once Revival realizes that Neeb has pulled everything away, that 5th command center is dead.
A free command center is not a bad choice at all. Killing it off is good. And then from now, Neeb's... It's really strange how this game is played out, because now Revival's back in it. Substantially. I mean, he doesn't have a 5th base that he would like.
Revival realizes he can leave, too.
Yeah, so at least he gets these out. And now his army is looking quite good with 32 Mutalisks. So his name...
He's like, I'll trade 2 mutas to kill your 4th base. Yeah. Neeb doesn't have too many forces here. Although he's got enough SCVs to repair. And the Marines are here.
If this base gets shut down, then that's pretty much all the mining here for Neeb. So
if Neeb doesn't lose everything, if he can kill all these banelings while having a couple of Marines and Thors left over, this game is 100% in the bag for him. He's got his 4th base. He has plenty of income since he can still mule that base despite SCV losses he's taken.
Something really bad just happened. He lost quite a few of the Mutalisks to that location. But Neeb here now pressing on forwards. He could actually catch those. Oh, bye-bye.
Ouch. Oh. We have a total of 21 Mutalisks left on the map. And this is, I like this. Neeb he's like, okay, wait, I don't want to lose. Let's go build more units. Let's try to land this 5th base. You know, there's a lot of Terran players that would just try to kill this guy, and then the Baneling meet you on. It's like it's a creep spread, but if you meet the Banelings on that creep, there's still a chance that you can throw this game, because you don't have missile turrets at your 4th base. If those Mutalisks survive at the end of the fight, they can chunk you pretty hard. And he actually still has these changelings to try to watch the movement of this Terran army. A lot of these Banelings are out of position. If he can set his mines up, he might be able to make this push work. He only has 6 on the field. Revival's done a good job of thinning these out, but this is it. This is the big... he has to defend this base. Those Banelings, quite a bit of them actually didn't in those stores. Like I said, all he needs to do is have some Marines left over, but there's still 27 Banelings. He's coming in on this. The Marines are sprinting behind everything, letting the Thors soak up the sun for them, and the Widowmines get some detonations. I think there's enough Marines left over to break this position. There's just 1 Baneling here, and enough medevacs for these 3 Marines. Another Thor shows up. Neeb is ready to put the hammer in Revival's coffin for this 2nd game.
Thor did a lot of damage with that initial volley there as it enters the fray. Now Revival has to be so careful. He loses this base. That was his last remaining mining base. This is terrifying. Neeb here is still pushing on forwards, has Marine after Marine after Marine coming along, and Revival's, no, not again. I lose on this map to another Terran. It's disastrous, and Neeb is looking fantastic here.
What a great game by Neeb. This is him refusing to give up in this series. And wow, what a damn great game from Neeb. This is nothing short of superb.
Wow.
GG. Well played.
And this is a big deal now, guys, because this kid here, 16-year-old Neeb, is 1 game away from the round of 8 against some stupidly formidable opponents.
Yeah, it's not supposed to happen like this. In Habitation Station, I think for TVZ, so there's 2 ways you can look at the Terran versus Zerg matchup. And I like to think of it as a way that, as a Terran player, you don't like playing on maps like Frost, because attacking a Zerg player's 5th and 6th base, you have to go across a wide area.
Yeah, far.
Good creep spread makes that damn near impossible. But if you're playing on maps like Daedalus Point, it's really small. Your pushes get to that 4th base, that 5th base really easily without exposing yourself. Habitation Station, I feel, is another one of these maps where you can push a 3rd, you can push a 4th, you can push a 5th without exposing yourself too much. And I think that definitely favors the way that Neeb likes to play. And I also think that compared to Daedalus Point, I don't necessarily think we'll see a return to mech. His mechanics are good enough he can just play bio. Like, if he can play bio that well and put out enough Marines and defend all of the multiple potential angles of aggression while bringing his own pressure, why bother playing mech? He doesn't need to play any slow styles to beat this guy.
All right, final game of the day. Habitation Station. One of these players goes to the round of 8. Will it be Revival, our South Korean representative, or will it be Neeb, our Fnatic player from America, looking for the grand upset here in Group B, round of 16, WCS America, up to the top right, our Red Zerg. Representing CM Storm, it's Revival.
Revival. He's been given a reality check. And Neeb would love to have that cash, but this is Neeb in the top left, our blue Terran player from Fnatic, who's just one game away from the round of 8. The first American in the round of 8. His first real, serious WCS run that we're seeing from him. He's played in qualifiers, played in, I think, Season 1 Challenger, but this is a real serious opportunity to make a name for himself. And damn, beating Revival, that'd be quite a feat in and of itself.
I remember reading the interview with Neeb when he entered WCS that was done on Team Liquid, I believe. Get to know your WCS competitors, and he was describing the origins of his name and where it came from, and the fact that he used to play like FPS games, Halo, with his brother and stuff, and he was called like Neeblet, with the E's being 3s, and nostalgia came flooding back, all those names with numbers in them, and the days of FPS Halo games early on. Crazy stuff. But now here he is, 16-year-old guy looking to try and advance onto the round of 8. It would be an absolute dream for him to defeat a well-established player here in Revival in this final game. Can he do it?
Man, what an achievement! What great play he's done so far. And not to diminish Revival's play, but this is just, this is something that when you look at someone with the kind of career that Revival has had, you look at this matchup and you say there is absolutely no way that this match ends in anything other than a 2-0, probably pretty quickly, with the victor being Revival. And Neeb, he's totally interested in making everybody that likes to predict StarCraft games wrong.
Yeah.
And he's even going to open Reaper on this map, which I always think it's interesting. I wonder if he's going to queue a second Reaper, because obviously there's not too much space to do pressure and harass with on this map. But I honestly think after that last game, I'd be really shocked if Neeb went mech again, although it's not necessarily bad on this map. So he's got a lot of options, and he will actually go for 2 Reaper. He's just going to stick to his guns.
Yeah, just using the second one for the defense in the end.
Yeah.
Rallying it down to the natural.
Do you think you need to on this map? I feel like it's really easy to see if Zerglings come out. Like, he goes right into the natural anyway, so if Zerglings were to pop out, well, I guess...
But they could pop out from the natural, right?
Yeah.
Like, they could just actually run down there. So I think it helps. It said, ooh, doesn't want to go in the draw line. Jeez, scared me to death just then. Ooh, he's actually going to go straight in.
I feel like it'd be really hard for the second Reaper moving across the map to not see 2 links. Wow, that's actually pretty rough.
Why you don't want to go into the drone line?
Yeah, man, that's the dark alleyway of Zerg. All those drones, they want to give you a hug, and then you realize they have pretty sharp mandibles when you get too close. But he's got the factory and the reactor on the way. I expect nothing other than a 3rd command center. He doesn't have a 2nd gas. So Revival, you kill the first Reaper, I imagine as a Zerg player, you kill that first Reaper, you are feeling nothing short of amazing. But 2 gases being placed at 5 minutes.
Whoa, hello. This is what's scaring me. The 3rd command center down already at this position, and this Overlord's going to spot it. This could just trigger big aggression here from Revival.
It's really weird because Revival knows there's only 1 gas, right? So
yeah.
I imagine a world where Revival might think there's 2 barracks tucked away somewhere in the back of the main base for Neeb, and the only reason he thinks that is because he didn't see the 3rd command center. Actually, he's going to see it. Never mind.
Yeah,
he sees it anyway. So the 3rd command center, as you've kind of said, has really triggered this heavy roach aggression that we saw in the first 2 games. And Neeb, he let Revival into his natural and was able to survive because of that. But I don't think letting him into his 3rd base is going to give him the same kind of edge. And actually, Revival...
Fast layer, man. Fast layer.
He's already got 3 gas. If he takes the 4th, I'd say it has to be fast Mutalisks, but I don't know what else he could do anyway.
1 Evo chamber, throws down a second one, or is it? Oh, okay, it's the Roach Warren. I feared this might happen. But he pokes up and sees only 1 Evolution chamber. That's a bit of a tell with the Roach Warren as well.
It's a bit. I almost feel like it's a bit weird because you usually see like 1/1 Roach timings. I don't know if I've ever seen like just a +1 attack.
+1 weapon with Roach. Yeah.
I don't know. I usually just see it a double evolution chamber style, but this could, you know, throw Neeb off. I think if you know the Zerg player doesn't have a 3rd and they have a Roach Warren, like the first couple games that have Carapace. I mean, I guess it would help versus the Hellions. Maybe Marines before Stim, but Stim will be done before that upgrade is complete, so that's...
I must admit, I wasn't expecting Carapace.
I know, right.
I was like, oh,
right
okay
on.
Then.
Right on. Roach speed is on the way.
This is interesting. I was like, oh, okay.
I think if Neeb stays active on the map, he can defend perfectly by just pulling all his 3rd base SCVs into the natural and then just holding there. And he's actually going to kill... He's going to kill a queen. He's going ham here. The queen gets away with just 2 hit points. The Zerglings that were patrolling actually just patrolled there forever. He scans the main base and sees a lair. And I think you see, he kind of knows what's happening. It can only be a Roach speed with +1 Carapace timing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think at this point, if I was Neeb, I would run away from the 3rd base and just hold at my natural.
Yeah, Neeb is not the guy that likes to build bunkers, but you know, when he sees Roaches, he knows it's a smart investment to make.
Yeah, look at this. He's pulling back. So
yeah, so this is
it's gonna happen.
That's really all he needed to do. Because now he's gonna show and be like, oh, you're a 3rd base. There's a meal that's already about to die anyway, and Neeb can lift that off without much trouble. There's no Baneling Nest this time, and he has a Marauder. He's gonna build 2 more bunkers. Revival's response is to take the gold base. And maybe if Neeb thinks this is the same level of attack, it's a problem, but I still think the fact that there's only 1 evolution chamber means that Neeb will still have his 2/2 faster, and subsequently his 3/3. So for the long-term aspect of this game, I still think Neeb's okay.
He's still only producing Roaches. He's still just cranking out Roaches constantly. +1 Carapace finishes. He drops the scan and sees more Roaches piling on out.
I think seeing that there's no Zergling speed might make him build siege tanks. He has put out a few Widow Mines.
There's a lot of Widow Mines.
At this position, I don't think is breakable with just Roaches with 3 bunkers and Stim, Bio.
He sends a few forwards here to try and catch some of these Widow Mines.
Well, he's going to open the door for him again like a good neighbor.
But against pure Roach, that might actually be a really, really bad idea. This is a lot of Roaches.
Yeah.
But there's so many bunkers that just aren't dying.
I think running past the bunkers and...
That's good.
Yeah, this might be a situation where you wanted to keep the doors closed on
But now they're
this
trapped.
guy. Yeah, but now the Roaches, now he's guaranteed to kill all of them unless there's enough Roaches to kill him.
But
And he will lose SCVs, but he has a 3rd command center. I don't know, some Roaches from the low ground. It's weird, but he does kill a lot. He's killed a lot of SCVs. This is what you want. This is probably more like what he wanted to do the first 2 games.
Yeah.
He said, I don't want to fight your bunkers on the Widow Mines. I mean, just go kill the SCVs.
Especially since he's got the gold behind it, he can now aggressively spread creep through the middle and still control the map with some pretty tanky Roaches. So it's not like he could just add on 2 siege tanks and start pressuring the gold base, which is the normal mantra of what you would kind of see here.
The starport is so late. The armory is late. I don't think... I think Revival can just keep pumping out Roaches for the rest of this game.
Yeah,
he doesn't need that many. You don't need that many drones on the gold to mine it efficiently.
This is bizarre.
I think Revival just pumps out Roaches for the rest of this game, and Neeb is either going to kill himself trying to go down his ramp, or he's going to make a miracle happen when he finally gets medevacs. But that starport is just about to complete. He's throwing me out quite late. Most of his bio is actually in the orange at this point.
He started +1 range weapons just then and then canceled it almost instantly and started an extra evolution chamber. So I am curious. Like, I don't know if he wanted to start +1 weapons at the beginning. I mean, yeah, Carapace is good against Marines that shoot in small packets and then you soak up a lot of damage, but +2 weapons is kind of cool as well.
You know what?
Sorry, +1 even.
If you know, it's actually... If you know that your opponent might let you in and you can just run up to those SCVs, the Carapace is actually really good versus the SCVs.
Yeah.
Since they don't benefit from weapon upgrades. That's like the most weird meta-style attack I've ever seen, but this...
You leave your door open, thank you for letting me in.
He has 35 Roaches out there.
And he can't go down this ramp. He just can't, and he's supply blocked. He is really stuck, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, he's got him pinned up against the wall. And I don't know how he's going to be able to get himself out of here because, like I said, Revival does not need to stop building roaches at any point. He has a lot of drones. He can drone while building roaches.
Well, I mean, he could stop building roaches when he wants to add on Hydralisks because he just had the Hydralisk, so that's one reason he could stop them.
I think when you have an economic lead like this, going Roach Hydra, you're a 3-base Zerg, taking a 4th of the gold, like this drop. Like, this is really his only chance of winning this game. But now there's so many roaches outside of his base that pulling some back doesn't allow him to even leave. Like, the drops are his only opportunity to bring this game back. But the Overlord spread is incredible. Revival tries to step down the ramp. The Whittle Mines, they're not really that good versus roaches. You need siege tanks. And I think this autopilot of sorts for Neeb on his builds are great, but Revival is now doing something so weird, kind of like we saw Alicia do. It's just such an unusual style to see pop up that what you're normally accustomed to mechanically doing is just now what you need. And he is going to build a siege tank, but it's so late.
Yeah, so
like
late.
The infestation pit's almost halfway done. This hive is going to be coming in very soon, and you're playing against Marine Tank. You don't have a 3rd base. You can't afford to get upgrades and tanks and medevacs at the same time.
At least he finds a little bit of room to pressure this base, but now he's stuck without a 3rd base. He is actually going to pull these roaches back, but then when they come back with the Hydra support, with grooved spines, with +1 weapons, +2 carapace, everything is just going Revival's way. He's so far up in terms of army supply, 131 to 70. The Marines try and escape, but you're not getting out of here anytime soon. The roaches just press up against them to give them a great big hug, and this is not looking good here for our young American.
Yeah, maxed out, I think Bio can trade pretty darn well versus Roach Hydra, but the problem is by delaying the 3rd base so much, it's not really conceivable that Neeb is going to be able to max out in this game. Maybe if he can turn his minerals, you could call down bunker, drop 10 of them right in front of the natural, and like you need something insane because the hive is on the way. And once Vipers are out, like he might somehow get this 3rd base, but once Vipers are out, the siege tanks are null and void. He blinding cut even the Marines, forcing one of these roaches. He's even going to push on this 3rd base again. He's like, yeah, he has a siege tank there, but if he can kill all these Marines, and that's it. He can just push his way up the natural ramp. Neeb has played a phenomenal WCS match so far. He's played fantastic in his games, but I think Revival has done it. GG. Revival is going to be the 2nd player from this group to move on to the round of 8, and Neeb certainly cannot feel ashamed from those games. No. He played very well. First time coming out to compete. Doesn't matter. Your first big tournament, you have to fly across the world and play at late hours. That was quite a show from Neeb.
Many people going into Group B thought it was a foregone conclusion that these 2 players would advance on, but in the end, it was not that clear-cut. Neeb fought valiantly and was not able to advance on in the very end, but it was down to the wire. So congratulations to Revival, commiserations to Neeb, but we'll be seeing him in the round of 32 for Premier next season, and I'm sure he's going to come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, definitely. And that last game, it's really tricky to think about because you kind of said, you know, do you just do that because you know that he might leave his depot down for you to run in?
Yeah.
Like it's so weird. But if he has, say, his depot's raised and SCV's repairing it, can he defend it? Right? Like, can he just repair that wall if he holds the roaches out and maybe only loses 10 workers? Suddenly, it might look like a completely different game. But that was just, man, what a weird way for Revival to play. But I guess that's the best way to throw Neeb off. He seemed ready to play standard games.
Yeah, seems so. All right, well, that does it for our games for today here from Group A and Group B. And now we send it over to Paul.
Thank you very much to Kalaris and to Nathanius, and of course to our observer, Funker, as well, who's upstairs in his cage. We don't let him out during the day, but he's done a fantastic job, as ever, here at WCS America. With Todd and Rotterdam, just to wrap up the day, it's been a terrific day at StarCraft, both of you. I think we've enjoyed a lot of matches, but none more so than watching Neeb play, because he's been fantastic. I know he hasn't gone through, and it's disappointing for him, but he's terrific performance over the last 2 matches that he's shown us, and great experience that I was talking to Rotterdam about earlier. It's valuable, right, when you first start out and you go out to these big events?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a great experience for him to learn from and improve. I was a little bit surprised, to be honest, at his interview when he said he expected to win no games. That's not the best mindset you're going to...
He'll learn.
Yeah, definitely. That's not the best mindset to go into a tournament with, but I'm sure he will learn a lot from this, and I'm actually interested what Rothy thinks, because I guess you know this player better than me. You've been doing WCS America for longer, and you've been following this guy?
We can't all be as cocky as you, Johan. Go everywhere we go trying to win tournaments. No,
I'm glad I asked.
Okay, settle down, boys. It's just day one, and we've got to get through 5 days together of working. I don't want you falling out.
No, that would never happen. Me and Johan, we go way too far back for that. We actually spoke a lot about Neeb already before. I think you were still on the caster desk back then, but we already went a little bit over Neeb's progress. It was so cool seeing him come onto the scene in 2013 and just show progress, showing dominance against people that you normally expect him to match up against. You know, all the North Americans doing so well. Now also showing that he has made steps in his career. Now he's able to give guys like Revival a good run for their money. It wasn't enough today, but it was damn close, and I really think it's an awesome story to follow. And that's what WCS is bringing us, and that's why we watch this league.
Absolutely. You mentioned it before the game. Blizzard loved the fact that, you know, they started off the WCS for the players that not only were at the top of the game, but the guys that, you know, wanted to get a break and wanted to get into a regular profession and regular league. He's a perfect example of it. We've got Welmo in Europe who, you know, he went through, I think it was 5 Challenger matches to start with to even qualify for Challenger League. Neeb's done the same thing. He's got himself into Challenger, then he gets himself into Premier League. Now he's got himself to round of 16. How far do you think he could go in 2014?
It's cool as well, because I often spoke about this in the past, and whenever people ask me or when I stream or something, they're like, who do you think is an up-and-comer? And I always said Neeb. I said, like, I've never met the kid personally, so you don't know what kind of guy it is. You know, if it's a mini bling out there, then it's like, okay, well, I know enough. You know, I love Sam, but no, but actually he seems like a very down-to-earth, still a relatively shy guy. If he keeps playing, if he keeps loving this game, I seriously think he can go very far, and he can be that foreign Terran hero that a lot of those foreign Terran players
the American hope.
Yeah,
and
that as well.
And he's actually American. You don't have to change Stefano's nationality just to cheer for him.
We might have to check that blue book, because no American can be that good. Just kidding, guys.
Okay, let's take a look at the 16 players that qualified for the round of 16, and we'll go through the results in Group A and Group B and wrap them up for you. Here are your 16 players. Group C and Group D is played tomorrow. Some fantastic players in that mix. Tasia, of course, in Group C will start off as the big favourite, but in Group D we also have 2 fabulous Koreans, winner of Season 2's global final last year, Bomber, and the double reigning champion from WCS America, Polt, returns to try and make it 3 in a row. But in Group A, earlier on, we saw Hyun and Oz, perhaps not surprisingly going through, but I have to say Puck put up some fantastic games. And then in Group B, we've just seen Alicia and Revival. Highlight of today, gents, what's it been for you, Rodder?
I think just Neeb's story and seeing that he can also bring what he brought online, that he can also bring it offline. I think that's the most memorable thing for me today. We saw a couple of cool games. I also like the way that Revival was using Swarm Host. I think that was cool. But if you ask me, like 1 year from now, like what do you remember of this? I would say, yeah, Neeb did really well that tournament. That's the first time we really got to know him, and I think it was cool.
Okay, yeah.
I think Puck's run was quite good. He was close to making it himself, so that was good. I've known him for quite some time. We used to be teammates, so pretty happy for him that he played good games here and really got to put his name out there even more than it was before. And Alicia against Revival, pretty happy to see some Protoss success at the highest level as always. We haven't had enough.
Obviously not. No, there hasn't been enough Protoss wins
There's
at
no
all
bias at this table,
in
Paul.
the last couple of years. I am
at least I'm honest.
I'm surrounded by Zergs and Protoss. I'm like the Koreans. I'm the only Terran left in the tournament. Tomorrow, big games, more games from Group C and Group D. Tasia in action in Group C starts off as a massive favourite in that group, but we've seen already today, starting off as a massive favourite in Hyun in Group A doesn't necessarily guarantee you a smooth passage into the next round. And then Group D, which I have to tell you, I'm more than a little excited. I mean, being a Terran and having Polt and Bomber in the same group, never mind the fact that the other 2 players in that group are also capable of beating both of those players. It's going to be an extraordinary day tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm already worried because I'm sharing a hotel room with Titanius, and I think he's not going to sleep all night. He's like, tomorrow I'm going to cast Bomber, Tasia, and Polt. He's going to keep me up all night. He's like, calm down.
We call this Terran Christmas.
Yeah, no, it's actually going to be an amazing day for many reasons. For the Terran fans, of course, you have some of the absolute best Terran players in the world in action tomorrow. Great storylines, like you already said. Tasia, he's been an overwhelming favorite, for me at least, for 2 or 3 seasons. Has never won it all. Polt, of course, a double champion. This time, Bomber. He took a risky path path, by the way, because the way that Bomber went into WCS America, he had one qualifier to make it through. He did. Then he has one deciding best of 5 to make it into Premier League, and he did. And then, of course, he still has to play online from Korea, and he did it again. So he definitely rolled the dice, but so far he owned it up like a boss. And it's obviously that Bomber is only here for one reason. He wants to win it. And last but not least, I'm really excited to cast Maxet again because he's a Protoss player that's close to my heart. I had so much fun with the Chinese guys in 2013. I'm also very excited that we have 2 more Chinese players that we haven't seen before, Tutmin and Jigua. Overall, a really exciting day for me and I think for all StarCraft
Yeah,
fans.
definitely. It's going to be a fabulous day of Koreans and Chinese tomorrow. A real mixture of talent and styles and a real clash of personalities as well. What are you looking forward to?
I think all races are going to be featured pretty well, and I like that you said Terran Christmas because I'm looking forward to those TVPs with Crank and Maxeds as some very strong Protoss contenders. You have the Zergs represented by Tudming, Terrans. You said, I think the Terran lineup is probably the most impressive that we're going to see tomorrow. Teja, Pulse, that sounds very, very scary. So really looking forward to all those matches between all of those players. I don't think there is a single match that I look at and I'm like, not really interested by that one. Everybody I really want to see play. Arthur. The first time I'm going to meet him and see him play live.
He was fabulous in the round of 32, just absolutely flawless. And to see what he can do in the games tomorrow is kind of scary as well.
He plays the kind of Protoss style that if you're a Protoss player, you're like, I'm
dirty?
Yeah, very dirty. PG-13 dirty. But I'm excited for it as well. I think he's going to give us again a couple of builds where if you play Zerg or Terran, you're going to frown upon. If you're a Protoss player, it's going to bring a smile to your face.
Yeah, I might not be too happy with Arthur's build, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how he plays tomorrow. Thanks very much, gentlemen. We'll see you tomorrow. Nathanius and Kalaris will also be back with us, as will Funker, because we'll let him out of his cage this evening. But we'll put him back in it tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's it from day 1 of WCS America, round of 16. We'll be back for Groups C and D tomorrow.